got your back. I got your back.
How you doing?
Uh, since everybody's here, I guess we can wait a couple minutes. We're not going to wait too much longer. We want to start at 12.
We got 4 minutes.
Yeah. I can get y'all some water. Coach, anybody need some water or anything?
I brought my own, thank you.
Coaches, y'all need water or anything down there?
That I need a Diet Coke.
Water or anything? Okay.
Diet Coke?
Diet Coke.
What is with that?
Okay, mics. Okay, thank you. Before we begin, if you have a question, just raise your hand. We have 2 people with mics. If you would be so kind as to identify yourself, the coach the question is for, and then we'll go from there. We're going to start at 12, so I'm sorry. We can't start until 12, so we've got a couple minutes.
Trying to make sure you solidify that, like nobody can catch it.
I'm just trying to stay alive. My age, you just have to be alive.
Trying to figure out how to.
So bad, I lost a number of friends that are in their late 50s. Used to have to be a lot of stuff. People say used to be when I come here. I don't know if I'm alive. That's my reply. Then I have to commit to me.
There you go.
I mean,
My grandma's 90.
I'm still coaching.
nice.
Yeah, and you're actually a pretty good coach compared to the younger one. Pretty popular with the girls.
You,
I'm just happy to be here.
Coach, you big time. I'm just honored to be in your presence.
Thank you. I'm definitely the oldest one at this table.
I don't know. Pat look kind of old,
The
Coach.
oldest one at this table.
Patrick looks kind of old. I'm not sure.
Well, it's
Coach.
his beard. Because his beard's
He looks
turning
kinda old.
gray. That's why I
Coach
think he can shave it.
Coach looks a little.
That was really funny.
I'm Steve the coach.
Telling you.
Well, my grandmother always say, "You only as old as you feel."
Well, this is, that's a good point.
She's like 90 something. She's still walking every day and terrorizing everybody. All right, 1 minute. Get on the way here.
Are we the first press conference?
Yes.
I know things are changing. We're taking it over.
I was. Yeah. That's,
That whole Grand V's, I was going to.
Graham is upstairs. Oh, that's good. Most of the women.
Patty would like some water.
Could someone please get me some water for Coach, if that's possible, up from upstairs? Two waters, please, and thank you. Yeah, the lights, Coach. I'm sorry, I got you in here kind of early. I like having pretty ladies, head coaches. I like female head coaches. All the pretty ladies around me today feel special. Okay. It's 12. Okay, we're going to get started. Good afternoon. I want to take this time to welcome everyone to the 2016 Women's College World Series here in Oklahoma City. This will be our first of 2 press conferences today. The second one will start at 3:30 p.m. instead of 3. All right. Today, starting from my right, your left, we have head coach Carol Hutchins from the University of Michigan, whose team advanced out of the Ann Arbor Super Regional and coming to the Women's College World Series with an overall record of 51-5 and are making a 12th appearance here in the WCWS. Next to her, we have head coach Beth Tarina from LSU, whose team advanced to the Women's College World Series out of the Harrisburg Super Regional. LSU comes into the Women's College World Series with an overall record of 50-16, and they are making their 5th appearance. Next to her, we have head coach Patty Gasso from the University of Oklahoma, whose team advanced out of the Norman Super Regional. They come into the Women's College World Series with an overall record of 51-7 and making their 10th appearance here. And next to her, we have the young Patrick Murphy from the University of Alabama, whose team advanced out of Tuscaloosa Super Regional and comes into the Women's College World Series with an overall record of 51-12 and making their 11th appearance. All right, at this time, what we're going to do, we're going to get general comments from each coach. Then we're going to open it up for questions, and we'll start with the lovely Coach Hutchins.
Oh, want me to start now?
Yes, ma'am. General comments.
Well, congratulations to everybody sitting up here and everybody in the tournament. And I'm sure this might get redundant as we all sit up here today, but we are absolutely thrilled to be in Oklahoma City this time of year. And I think most telling is if you look at this field and all the great teams that were in the field, and obviously people will talk about the upsets and so forth, but there's just a lot of great teams in college softball. I think it's really telling where our sport continues to grow. And every year that I've been able to be here, we talk about the sport growing. And one of the greatest things is that we've had so many great teams set high standards and high bars, and it continues to make everybody around them better and all of the opponents better. So it's been really fun to be a part of all of this, and our kids are very excited. We had to come out of a really tough super regional against a very good Missouri team, as everybody had to come out of very tough super regionals, and the addition of super regionals has been such it's kind of a love-hate relationship actually, but the best teams are playing their best softball right now. Those are the people sitting up here today. So Michigan, we're excited to be here, and looking forward to the week.
Coach Terrain.
Before I start, I just want to say I'm really honored to just sit on this stage with these three coaches, three Hall of Famers. I feel a lot of place up here today, but three people that have built three amazing programs and done it the right way, and each done it their own way. I just think it's really a cool opportunity. So my team's thrilled to be here. This is an event that they dream about from when they're, little kids. Somebody asked me if they would rather play, on and play professional softball or this. And I said, well, right now, this is it for them. I mean, this is the moment that they've waited for their whole lives. So we're proud to be back again for a second year. To do that for the first time in school history, back-to-back years is I think, really special, and, hopefully shows that we're creating a culture and a program that is something that's really special. This event, just amazing. To echo what Hutch said, we came from, James Madison, where the crowds were just unreal. What they're doing in the sport of softball all around this country, I think was just solidified in my mind that we're just getting amazing fan support, crowds, just opportunities for women in the sport is amazing right now. So our team fought hard through the super regional. They've fought with their backs against the wall a lot this year, and I feel like they've truly earned the right to be here and be among the 8 left standing at the end of the year. So thank you so much for hosting us, and we're excited to be part of the field.
Coach Gasso.
For us, it's almost a relief to be here because it's hard to live here when you're not in it. So you get to read papers and see news, but you're happy for all of those who get to what we call the promised land, to be up here. As Beth says, she is part of this sorority/fraternity of coaches. I'm really thrilled about competing against everyone that is here because we have good history of competition, especially my friend right here. So I guess I would reflect back as to thinking that not a lot of people expected us to be here after losing such a big class of veteran seniors. But what made it kind of all clear in my eyes is when we finished at the Super Regional against Lafayette. The Raging Cajuns gave us everything and more and made us better team because of their fight. It was a special Super Regional. It was tough, but it was looking up in the crowd and seeing the fans' reaction on both sides makes me, probably Hutch, Patrick, and others just go, we are arriving and we're flourishing and we're getting out of control with the fan support and interest in the sport. But listening to Paige Parker, Shane Knighton, and Sidney Romero sit at the post-game press conference, and they couldn't even talk because it didn't really register to them that we were going to the World Series, and they just kept talking about a dream. This is their dream. They can check it off of their list of goals. It's amazing. They've dreamt about it since they've been a little girl. And as a coach, you just get so caught up in the moment when you hear your athletes talk like that. You realize that this is something special. So we're honored to be here, and congratulate everybody for getting here, because it is so difficult as you watch super regionals. And my heart is pumping for all of these teams who are in the same stressful situations that we are. And I was thankful that we got to play it early so we could sit back and watch the other stress the way we had to earlier. But it's just the sport. I'm so proud to be affiliated with it, and we're just so excited to be a part of it this year.
Coach Murphy.
Well, I'd like to say thanks, too, for everybody so far. The banquet last night was awesome, just a really neat time for our team. I think Patty and I should start a new conference and call it the Big SEC or something like that, because we see each other so much. And this is like, I don't know how many times now we've played each other in the postseason, but we had 5 seniors last year. Like Patty, we had a big senior class, and we had a lot of new people step up. And our regional was tough, and our super regional against Washington was even tougher. I know they would have been very, very, very good here. They were a good team, and but we're just really happy to be here and can't wait to start playing.
All right, this time we open up for questions.
Tommy Dees, Tuscaloosa News. For Patrick and Patty, can you talk about last year's super regional, that special level of competition? That seemed to be best one I ever covered anyway. What it took out of each team, and what fueled that, this year from that?
That's my first question. I would say that I recognized you too, because I remember you from the. It was probably, if you can't be playing in the College World Series, that's a place you want to be. It was, although we didn't have a lot of fans for us, we just imagined that the Crimson was for us and not against us. But just to be around that setting and passionate fans made us step up. It was a great battle. Paige grew up. She turned into a woman. Whether we would have won or lost, it was one of the most valuable things that happened to her and the rest of those who were youngsters. But it made us better. Through losses, we learned how to get better. It may hurt like heck, but we learn from it and we persevere from it. And that's really what we've done. And not like I'm looking forward to playing them again as we get started, but at the same time, I know that it's going to be a battle, and this is a team in Alabama that always makes us have to play our best, and that's what you want when you're here.
And for us, it was an opportunity for a kid, that was 0 for 13 at the time, and she hits a grand slam to win the game, and sorry. But the reaction of her teammates is what was so key for us, because we try to preach team, and there's a word that we use called mudita, and it's, can you be as happy for someone else's success as if you did it yourself? And when that kid hit the home run, Haley McClellan said it was her best moment that she's had since she's played at Alabama, and she wasn't even on base. So that solidified our culture right then and there, and where a kid that was 0 for 13 comes through with a big hit, and her teammates are more happy that she hit it than they hit it. And it was just one of those moments that either team could have won easily. I mean, she had so many superstars, and it was just, it was the highest attended and I think the highest rated super regional of all time. And those games, proved it was one of the best of all time.
Coach Hutchins and Coach Torina, you played here last year in the World Series. You both returned almost everybody from that team. How are your teams different, and how are they the same from the two teams that met up last year here?
I'll let Beth go first.
Thanks. Well, we started 3 freshmen in the final game of the Super Regional, so, obviously we were playing some kids that weren't playing last year, and I think, we took some lumps early in this season, but I think that helped us understand who we are. I think it gave our kids a good idea of their identity and what they're trying to be. So I definitely think we're different than last year's team. I think this team can win in a lot of different ways. I think they can win by run game. They can win by the long ball. They can win because we throw a shutout. They can win because we score 8. I think this team wins in a lot of different ways, and they don't have to just, rely so heavily on a one-dimensional game.
Well, it seems like this year, every time I do a press conference, we end up talking about last year. And the one thing that is different is every year is different. And our kids had to realize that throughout the course of this season as everybody talked about, the expectations and, we came in second last year, so clearly there's only one way to define success for this year. And our kids had to really work through all of that. But, we lost Haley Wagner and Lauren Sweet, and those were 2 huge losses for us. And but the key to being a great program is to have young people step up. And I think we're a balanced team. I thought we were balanced last year. That's our goal every year, to put forth good pitching, good offense, and play good defense. And when it comes down to it this time of year, regardless of what kind of teams we are, we just need to play good softball. And we focus on not who we're playing, but just playing the game of softball every day. And our team is going to go out tomorrow night to just play good softball. And we know LSU's a good team because only the good teams are still playing. And actually now only the great teams are still playing. So we just need to play good softball and focus on the ball.
Young man here. You.
Okay. John McKelvey with the Newman Transcript. Just want to ask Patty and Patrick, you guys played earlier this year, and it went down to the wire. Is there anything you can take from that game? Because I know it was so long ago, and that teams have changed so much this season.
I just think we knew how many kids they lost because we had just played them in last May, but they showed us that they were just as good or better this year. So it's not like we're not going to go in overconfident or anything, because it was a battle, and they hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 7th, and it was it might have been the quickest game we played all year. It might have been like an hour and a half, and it was just 2 pitchers going at each other. Just an incredible defensive effort by both of them, and their freshman hitter got a hold of one at the end, and they had 2 hits in the bottom of the 7th. That was it, and game over. So it was just a great game, a good environment, and I'm sure it's going to be more of the same.
It might have been an hour and a half because we struck out 14 or 15 times, which is part of what you face with Osorio and the rest of his staff. So we just have to keep trying to figure that out and prepare. And that game was another really outstanding game, one of the best that we played in the way of defense to keep ourselves in the game. But we just know we know each other enough that we know that it's going to be a game like that. So all you do is just keep prepping and, put it out there tomorrow. That's all we can do.
Steve Kornacki, MGoBlue.com. This is for Carol. Could you tell us what Kelly Christner's given you this year as a leader, and then also talk about how she's doing offensively now and how she's sort of found her way back?
Well, Kelly's our junior outfielder who is one of the tri-captains that is not a senior. And she was voted because of her great work ethic and her ability to say what she thinks and make sure her teammates are always marching in the right direction. And she was a kid who last year was first-team All-American and this year didn't make All Big Ten. She had what I like to refer to as the World Series hangover. Just a great, great year, and kids who often experience great success come back with their expectations very high, but they get a little befuddled when it doesn't just automatically happen. And, the team really remembers what all happened at the very end of the year, and they forgot how hard they worked to get there. And she certainly had a great super regional for us. She had a great regional for us. And I think now she's gone back to just doing what it takes to be great. And she's a great athlete and a great talent. And we certainly need her back hitting in the 3-hole.
Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. Question for Patty and for Carol. You both have a Romero on your team. Obviously, they're at different points in their careers, and they're different women. I get that. But can each of you talk about what each of them has brought to your team, characteristics you feel like have been most important to where your teams are now?
Coach Casa.
Well, Sierra Romero obviously just named National Player of the Year, and very deserving, I think. She's been the face of our program really since she walked in the door, and we certainly have surrounded her with a lot of great softball talent as well. But what I love most about her, and I've said this since we got to know her family and recruited her, and that those Romeros were raised really well, because her tremendous sense of respect for the game and respect for the team. She's a great teammate. She's become a great leader. She's understood that her talent and her being, having a great game is important, but our team having a good game and being able to execute is where she needs to keep her focus. And she's really grown in that direction, and she's become a great team player, and that's probably what I'm most proud of.
I think it's hard to be Sid Romero when you have the best softball player in the game as your older sister. And I agree, they both have been, Sierra is a phenomenal athlete. And when you're the younger sister, you try to live, it's hard to live in those shadows. And I think Sid felt a lot of pressure throughout the season to do that. And we just kept trying to let her know that we love Sid for Sid, not because you're Sierra's sister. And I think she started to embrace that a little bit. The one thing about Sid that I enjoy is just that it's tough to get her out. She doesn't strike out a lot like Sierra. I think they probably have a bet as to who's going to have the least amount of strikeouts in a season. But Sid, she can hit tough pitching. She's always the one that finds a way to get it done. She's quiet. She's not real flashy. She just quietly does her job. Like I said, everybody in the world has enjoyed Sierra and watching her phenomenal 4 years at Michigan, well coached by her family and her coaches. But I think for Sid's future, it's almost a good thing that Sierra is graduating so Sydney can be Sydney and not the sister of Sierra. But she's been a very instrumental player for our success this season.
Coach Torina, I think you've played 28 games against ranked opponents, I think 19 against top 10 teams. How has that rugged road got you ready to be at this point?
Well, I think somebody already said just going through the adversity makes us so much tougher, and I think our team's had their backs against the wall. They've had to have multiple come-behind victories, to hang on for our lives there in the SEC tournament, some other games where we've had to come from behind. So I think our kids are a lot tougher. I think, a lot like what Hutch said, too, in the beginning of the season, they just think it's going to be kind of an automatic that you return a lot of the same team and you're going to just get, instantly back to the College World Series. So I think they had to remember who they were. They had to remember how to fight, and I think they've done that throughout. So I think playing the schedule that we played has really led us to where we're sitting today.
Yes, I have two questions over here. First question is for Patty. You said that it's tough when you don't make the World Series and being here in the state. Do you come to the World Series, and what's it like watching when someone else is out there?
I could. Honestly, it's tough for any coach who's competitive to watch on television. Not because you're knowing what a coach is feeling like when they're but you want to be there. So it's hard to sometimes watch that. You wish well for the coaches that you appreciate and respect. But this city just loves, and the people in it love this tournament. And they have shown it by their attendance. And it's just in your face all the time. And quite honestly, I feel that I let the city down when we're not in it. I feel like we want to make them proud. We want to give them something to root for. And when we aren't here, I feel like I let many down. So it's a hard. Are they upset at me? I don't know. I hope not. But at the same time, I have so much respect for our fans that I want to treat them just like our players want to treat them to this moment. So that I think that's why it's kind of hard sometimes.
The other question is for Coach Murphy. I just was curious. Obviously, you went through Oklahoma 2012. That environment here, what was it like going through that, knowing the fan base wanting to see Oklahoma win a national championship, but to be able to get through that and win one yourself?
Well, I said last weekend after the Super Regionals, the atmosphere that we had at Alabama is going to be the same in Oklahoma City, but they're going to be rooting for the other team. And it's happened several times to us where there's 10,000 Boomer Sooners rooting for them and maybe 500 rooting for us. So like she said last year when they came to Tuscaloosa, we're going to turn it around, and everybody's going to be wearing red anyway, so we'll just pretend that they're yelling for Alabama, and we get the same stuff. I've got that same top, so sometimes when they're fans, I have to really look, because MA at the end, I almost say roll tide, and but no, I think it's a very respectful rivalry too. I think everybody up here, we respect the heck out of everybody. It's not a dirty, it's nothing like that. They play the right way. I hope we do. It's very, very respectful, and that's the way it should be.
Beth, the question hanging over this press conference, where's the fish? And what about the masks? Are you guys wearing those in practice now that you can't wear them in games? How's that all going?
I think, I feel like we kind of get the finger pointed at us a lot in this dugout prop scenario. And I think, honestly, it's truly about the culture of Louisiana. And I'm not a native in Louisiana. I'm happy to live there now. But it's truly the culture of Louisiana, just the Mardi Gras props and the throws. And most of the stuff our kids have are things that, they've caught in a parade, or someone's thrown at us in the dugout, or they've dumped a thing of beads down at us. So, it's really just about the culture of Louisiana. It's not something that we would ever do to make a joke of the game of softball. Our kids are just enthusiastic, and it's not something that I've ever encouraged as a coach. Like I said, it's just part of who they have grown up being their entire lives in the state of Louisiana. And we have 12 players from the state of Louisiana. So it's part of it. I cannot confirm or deny if there's a fish on this trip, because last year I had no idea there was a fish in the dugout. So some things are just out of our control as coaches. So all I can say is there may or may not be a fish in this dugout.
I have a question for Carol and Patty. Number one, Florida's not here, and is that almost freeing coming into a World Series where the number one team isn't here, and it seems like it's up for anyone?
It's always up for anyone. And I think people have asked that question, and first of all, the only team I ever care about is Michigan. And the people who think that seeding matters, I can tell you that Florida realizes seeding doesn't matter, and seeding has never mattered. Seeding helps put you in position to just be in order in the tournament, the order that we get put in, and the goal is always to be seeded, hopefully in the top 8, so you can play those games at home, but you still have to win those games. And at this point of the year, I'm certain everybody would agree. Everybody has tough matchups, and the field is wide open, and to me, it always is.
Nothing to add. Exactly what I would say.
Right. Patrick, in the back over here. I'm just curious, after 4 years with Leona, what you've learned about Polynesian culture.
Oh, jeez. They are fun-loving and just incredible family-oriented people. It's just, we're so glad we had an opportunity to have her on the team, because last year we went out to Stanford for her home trip, and we had probably 80 to 90 members of her family and friends. We had a Samoan barbecue. It was very good. The sister and the brother did a traditional dance for us in the courtyard of the Marriott in Palo Alto. And we certainly got some stares because they were in full costume. And just the nicest people. And I'm really, really glad that we got to experience that. She's a great kid.
Coach Gasco, I was just curious if you could go back in time a little bit. It's been 15 years since that game you played against LSU here. I don't know if you remember it, extra inning, pitcher's duel, and just really kind of excited people about the sport of softball, at least in Louisiana, and stayed up watching and whatnot. Do you remember that game and here at the World Series?
You posted in the paper that I was turning 50-something years old, so that will get me off the hook in telling you that I don't remember a lot about it. I do remember back in that time, we were playing. Wait a minute. Was it on the main field?
Was it Brittany State?
You better remember. If you want me to remember, you.
13 innings, 2-1 game. Brittany Sneed pitched for LSU. You had to pitch your.
I think we had a throwing error. I don't remember. I don't want to remember. I just don't want to remember. There's a reason why I don't remember. I don't remember.
Jennifer Stewart was your.
Yeah, I think honestly, if I can remember right, and I can't, but I think that there might have been a tough throwing error that cost us that. It might have been another time that we played LSU here as well.
I'm sorry.
A very good friend of mine, Yvette Gerard, was the coach at that time, and I know both of these two have great history with her. And they brought their fan. I remember their fans being very vocal. I remember they had props, and there was a lot of dancing, a lot of country dance, like I don't know, like
Square dancing.
Square dancing. I do remember the square dance. See, I remember the important things about the game. But I wish I could give you more, but I'd be making it up. I probably just made up some of it anyway.
Coach Trina, Jordan Culver, Tallahassee Democrat, over here in the back. You talk about kind of dugout props, and over in Tallahassee, Coach Alameda had a dance-off with another coach right in the middle of a regional. Does that level of fun does that help or hurt the game of softball when you're experiencing that level of looseness, that level of fun in the dugout, on the field, in the middle of a game?
I love it, and I love our players to be, part of our team and all going for the same goal, but to also be individuals too and to have personality. And I think the coolest thing is to be part of a team. One of the neatest things you can ever do is be part of a team and have that team dynamic. So everybody bringing their own individual personalities to it, I think is really neat. I started my head coaching career in Miami, which is a whole other culture. I've been in a lot of different cultures here, in the Miami culture, now the Louisiana culture. But first game, my dad ever saw me coach, my kids were just crazy, all over the place, like the culture down there. And he said, if you could, teach them how to play great softball and still have this much fun, you're going to be a great coach. And that's something that's always stayed with me. I've always tried to remember that it's a game, tried to help my kids enjoy the game, and have personality and be themselves, yet still be intense and united for the same goal. So.
Yeah, this is again for Patty and Patrick. There seemed to be a time when if Oklahoma wasn't in this event, it really hurt the crowd. They needed Oklahoma in here. Do you see that having changed over the years? Not to talk about the years you didn't make it, but it is a difference, isn't it?
This is the best press conference I've ever been a part of. It is hot in here. You go first.
I think that people, they've shown up year after year after year, and I think this might, after our meeting last night, this might be the best attended ever. I mean, I read in the paper this morning in the Oklahoma, that there was like 90 tickets left, or 70 maybe. So I don't think I think they'll adopt the team if she's not in it. And if they are in it, they're definitely going to come. But I think it's gotten to a point where it doesn't matter who is in it. It's just like Omaha. People will show up, watch a great sport, and enjoy it.
We're not selfish that way. We just want the sport to continue to grow. So if the people are coming out when we're not here, we're thrilled for it. And that means that they're not so much in love with one team, but just in love with the sport. And that's what's most important, to continue to keep this train rolling.
I think that was one of the keys when they kept it in one spot, similar to Omaha, where people have had tickets for 40 consecutive years, and we've come since 2000, and there's fans at Alabama that have met good friends, and I would say good friends from Oklahoma City, that look forward to seeing them once a year, and it's at this event, and they're there whether Oklahoma's here or not. So it's just a really friendly atmosphere at the park, and everybody, it's almost like church, where everybody where everybody sits, and they've been there for 20, 25 years.
And if Penny fans are looking for a team. Purple really does look good on everyone. So, just saying, if their team isn't here, we're happy to take them on.
Kyle Fredrickson with the Oklahoman. For Patrick and for Beth, for fans at this event who don't follow SEC softball very closely, we wanted to kind of let them know about the Auburn Hop, what they do defensively. And I wonder, with you guys being in the same league, what do you make of that strategy, how they set their defense right before pitches? Is it something you even thought about doing? Just what's kind of been your reaction to seeing that style of play?
I think it's just like Beth's a hell of a pitching coach, but there's 1,000 ways to teach a pitcher, and I think there's a ton of ways to get a defense ready, and whatever works for the kids, you got to do it. And obviously that's worked for them because they have a great defense. I know that, and Beth knows that. But whatever works for the individual kid, that's what you do, because there's so many ways to teach hitting, defense, fielding, throwing, and pitching.
I really couldn't say that any better. I mean, it was a great answer.
Austin Legess, ASA USA Softball. Kind of for all four coaches, how important is this event to the game of softball now that it's no longer in the U.S. Olympics being considered for Tokyo 2020? But the fact that there's such a great atmosphere, and now we're expecting over 80,000 fans to walk through these gates within the weekend. How important is this event in general to the game of softball?
Start with Coach Murphy and work our way down.
It's huge. I think it's the biggest event in softball, and it's nationally televised live every single game, every single inning. You got post-game, you got pre-game press conferences, you've got this. It's the biggest thing in softball now, and it's very, very important. And I hope to God that we get back in the Olympics, because I think that would be huge for the sport as well. But right now, this is the biggest stage in the game of softball.
From what I know, everybody tunes in. It's one of the highest rated championships in NCAA, so we're proud about that. I think also the Pro League can catapult off of this as well, because that's the next step for these athletes as they leave college, is getting the opportunity to play professionally, which is another dream that some of them have, and I think that we can help that cause through this tournament as well.
I have to echo the Pro League. I just think these girls deserve that opportunity. It's such a great opportunity for them that they have earned, because they're so amazingly talented. So, I think just the demand for our sport all over the country with the growth of the Pro League, with the growth of this event, is unbelievable. And I think about our players who say, they all said this is their dream since when they started playing, since the first time they saw it on TV. So if every little girl in the country's dream is to be here, then we have a lot of people that are big-time fans of this event. And I can't say enough, too, about the Super Regional that we just played in a very small town in the state of Virginia. The amount of fans that were there, I mean, they're closing down roads to let people stand in the street to watch us play. I did the same thing as you guys. They were all wearing purple, so I pretended it was that they were cheering for us, because there were a lot of people there. And just the fact that in that small of a community, they can bring out that many people to support the sport of softball was really just an amazing, amazing sight to see.
Well, I can just only add to we continue to evolve. And I, come from a school where our football program has a stadium that holds, 110,000, regardless of what they say they're supposed to hold. And I'm pretty sure when they started out 138 years ago, they didn't have 110,000 coming to the games. And when I started out in 1985, and we had all the parents came to the game and a couple of the grandparents, and first time I ever made it to the big dance here was in 1995, and we certainly thought this was the stadium was almost filled, and then we started getting on ESPN, and then they added Super Regionals, which I think has really added to the drama and the couple week long of the whole event. But they asked me about this the other day. I said, this is the evolution, but the media attention is what has really grown. Every year, the media has recognized what a great game we have. We've all known for years what a great game this is. But it's helped grow the game with all the attention brought to it. It's raised our visibility on campuses. It's raised our visibility all over the place. And at Michigan, after football and basketball, softball has been on ESPN more than any other sport. I mean, I can tell you where we continue to go, but I'd like to see, and I wish I would be alive in another 100 years to see how many 100,000 people we're drawing to watch softball games. It's an evolution.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Coach Hutchins, if I could ask you the challenges LSU presents with their pitching staff, and how has the game changed where it used to be? It seemed like one girl could throw, 300 pitches, and now a lot of mixing and matching and bringing different pitchers in.
Yeah, it's as we were trying to prepare for them before I came over here. That they've got a great pitching staff, and they're all different, and so I'm certain that would be a strength of theirs, and it'd be very difficult to prepare for them. As we never know who we're going to see, and you don't know how long you're going to see them, so it gives them a great strength, I believe.
One more front. Last question.
Joey Helmer, OUinsider.com. For Patrick and Patty, last year in the Super Regional, 2 great freshman pitchers in Osorio and Parker. What's now that they're in the Women's College World Series this year as sophomores a year later, what's the biggest difference in both of them that you see?
For Paige, I think, honestly, the experience changed her. And I think she's learned how to grow up and settle herself down. She's really had a really phenomenal season, especially middle to late. She's able to kind of handle the big situations and come through with them. She's really learned how to trust her defense and trust her offense. So I don't feel her quite as wide-eyed and afraid to make mistakes. I think she knows she can get away with making a mistake because her defense or her offense can pick her up if needed. So I think she's just quite grown up from the experience that we had at Alabama.
Lexi's smiled at least twice this year, so that's 2 times as many as last year. So she went through a couple injuries, one in the fall and one like the very first week of team practice, and it was a high ankle sprain, and she was off probably 12 weeks. And she's just now getting back into her normal pitching self, and she had a great regional, and then she continued that up against a really good hitting team in Washington and super regionals. So she's more where she was at this time than last year than any other time of this season. And I think it was just those injuries held her back. But right now she's pitching as good as she has all year.
All right. At this time, we'd like to thank you all for coming. We're going to end at this time. Our next press conference will begin at 3:30 p.m. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Coach. I really appreciate it. Coach, could I get a picture? Is that okay? Sure. Coach, Murphy, could I get a picture with you for?